This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
I've seen X, or is that for
That may be a different
the other item?
It doesn't, it's not that specific, so I think a wildlife mix could be a conservation mix.
Okay.
That's just how I read it.
Yeah, and there's still a paragraph in here that says because of the project review and permitting process, we're unable to select a specific time period for implementation of the plan. Am I reading the most current version?
It was supposed to be current, but I missed that. Where was that again? Under methodology?
Yeah,
or?
second paragraph under methodology.
All right, you guys squared that away by saying we have to get on it right away.
Yeah.
So you could, if you want to strike that, we request the condition. So that's us really discussing with each other when to do it. If you want to leave it or strike it, I'm fine with that. I'll just initial it. That we sort of changed our text because you specified when it needs to happen.
All right, so we're gonna strike the first sentence.
In the second paragraph?
Yes. Not at all.
Okay.
So we're replacing it with implementation of the ISMA is to commence immediately upon approval. The third point on general work sequence, that the cut vegetation shall be disposed of outside of areas subject to the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. That is a bit vague and could imply that you could put it anywhere outside of jurisdiction on the property, which was not the intent. It was to be,
But you only have authority up to the jurisdiction line.
but we do have the authority to say that we want you to take it away and dispose of it where it's not going to spread back into the site. What is the actual intent?
Actual intent is put it in a pile and burn it off-site, so it cannot spread, cannot
Okay.
reproduce. Right? I mean, would it be a problem then to burn it on-site, burning permit? And you have all that open field, especially the ag side where it's all dirt. They can drag it up into there and burn it.
Yeah, that would be fine. I just don't want it piled and left on.
Oh, no, yeah. If they didn't do that, I would say you gotta put it in a dumpster, get the heck out of here. You
Yeah.
gotta get it off-site, gotta go to a landfill.
Okay.
You can't just lay it around. And I'll be the one marking all the vegetation. I'll probably also be there when they're cutting stuff down to make sure it gets done right.
Yeah, I'm gonna try flame weeding.
Yes. A few red trucks showing up.
Yeah, especially maybe last week, maybe this week will be
We're
okay.
gonna get dry again.
Yeah.
Drought is coming.
Hmm.
They're already, southeastern Mass has already claimed a drought
Really?
2 weeks ago.
I have a client that's anxious to try flame weeding. Just like, okay. Let me
It's
know.
fine on grass sidewalks and
Yeah.
stuff, but ooh,
Let me know how it goes.
a lot of flame.
I'm fine with this, with the change that was made to the methodology section. Any other comments?
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay, cool.
All set?
Yep.
Great. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This has to be specifically the, yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, back to agenda order. We're on to request for certificate of compliance. One Industrial Lofts LLC, 1 Ferry Street, Mass DEP, file number 1510298 for tract 1 of mill redevelopment project, map 135/131, lot 251. And simultaneously, I think we can handle City of Easthampton, 1 Industrial Lofts, 1 Ferry Street, Mass DEP, file number 1510317 for slope grading, vegetation management, and stormwater basin, map 131/135. Lot 1/2 and 250.
Is one a partial though?
Correct. For track one,
Track
like
one's
a
a
partial
partial.
certificate of compliance is requested for track, for the slope they want full.
I think we still discuss them together, but vote.
I think so.
Sure,
Yeah.
Because we asked for one plan, so it makes sense to just look at it as one if everyone's good with that.
No, we actually asked for a separate plan that was zoomed in on the
We
slope.
did. Never mind. We'll begin then with, Mass DEP file number 1510298 for the 1 Ferry Street tract 1.
Hey everyone, Ryan Nelson from Heritage Kids. We met on this probably a couple months ago now, and there were some additional items you requested. One of them was additional details and provisions added to the as-built plan regarding stormwater. So we clarified where the water quality units are. We noted all the catch basins, all the invert information. So the stormwater management system is completely detailed and noted on the as-built plan that was submitted. Our engineer, Slade Cravo, did a site walkthrough with the city engineer. I believe Cassie was, you were the contact man also.
Yep, and Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Albers there.
Okay. Additionally, we supplied a supplemental as-built plan of just the slope area next to the bike trail. On that plan, we noted a plant count. So generally, the plants were installed correctly. I think it was one plant shy. The total that was scheduled on the NOI plan. I believe the only substitution I found was instead of black birch, they planted oak trees, just due to availability. So all of that looked fine.
Are we talking about the slope ground?
Yeah, sorry,
Oh, sorry.
that's a different one. It's
Okay.
gonna be-
Okay, yeah, see that was the source of
Yeah.
confusion of where I thought we could just discuss together, but let's stick to the
All
first
right,
one first.
sticking just the 1 Ferry Street. See where we had. Oh, and the other item was, I believe you had asked for a clarification on the inspection and maintenance schedule for the long-term operation and maintenance. On our stormwater report for the water quality unit, it said C manufacturer specs. And included in subsequent to that was the brochure for that CDS unit. And it's similar to all the other structures 2 times a year. So it'd be cleaned out in spring and fall. Additionally, I submitted to Cassie a revised long-term operation and maintenance plan. After talking with Mike Michon, the owner, some of our default maintenance scheduling language in our stormwater report, a couple items mentioned 4 times a year, but Mike said realistically, he would prefer things to be done twice a year, so in the spring and the fall. So we wanted to run by that by the commission just to make sure that was okay. I think that was all the changes for Ferry Street. Additional info.
Kathy, did Dan Murphy have any comments during the site visit?
So he had one here, so he was able to send me a letter after an email, and she says, I think the stormwater system is complete. Only comments would be to sweep up the grit from the snow pile storage area, and then to look at vegetation on the slope in the northeast corner. That's related to the slope project.
Okay.
But, yeah, we talked about it on site with, I think it's Philippe, who's there with us?
Yep.
Because it looked like there was just where they likely had stored snow, there had been some sand that accumulated, and he said that should be cleaned up. And I don't know if that's already been happened, or, I don't know if you referenced what.
I'm not sure if Mike's done that yet, but that certainly will be done.
Did we receive the stamped letter confirming? Yeah, so do we have that?
So this is the general client's letter, I can share it, hold on. Let's see, it's signed by Philippe Cravo, professional engineer. PE, so I don't know if we need more than that or.
Is it stamped?
I don't have a stamp on it. It's signed.
It's supposed to be.
I'm not sure.
Or a stamped plan perhaps?
Yeah,
is
you
what
sent
we're
a-
saying?
yeah, you sent a drawing that looks like it has a
Well, we got
stamp.
the as-built, yeah, so hold on.
Yeah, as-built.
That may have been, my notes are a little vague here.
Let's see what we got.
Correct one.
Yeah, this plan is stamped. This is dated, April 27th, 2023. I'm gonna, yep.
Yeah, it is.
A quick question for you. Regarding the storage, it says it's going to be stored in the grassed areas around the pavement. Where exactly is that going to happen?
Yes, so you will
Yes,
expand. the plan.
I am. Yeah.
If you could just zoom in, maybe on this side of the site.
Okay.
So there's an island right here, and then there's a grassed area all along here, next to the bike trail. So those would be the, tended areas. Edge of parking being this line right here, your spaces.
You were asking where the snow from the parking lot will go? Is that your-
Yeah, because it said snowfall, it will be stored on the grassed area surrounding the pavement area. So there's a lot of pavement, so I wasn't exactly sure where that storage would be.
So you're just pushing it from the parking spaces up?
Yeah, they might be using a skid steer. I'm not sure if they're gonna be plowing it in that direction, but the idea is anywhere there's not a sidewalk or an actual parking space that we open those areas.
There's also, aren't there like drainage ditches on there too, by those grass areas?
Not in this area, in the back, south of where that slope restoration occurred, there's a yard drain, but, there's manhole covers, but no open yard drains or catch basins in those areas. Catch basins are within the existing, the new pavement areas. Those are the collection of ones.
Need to mark that where it's not going. It's not, it shouldn't be going into, it shouldn't be going into the areas utilized for stormwater management practices, so. Sure that.
Yeah, everything drains to the parking lots. This all slows down their parking. The low points are within the parking. Everything goes through a water quality unit up here before discharging to the canal. So it's all melting down into the parking areas.
Good, thank you.
Oh, so it also says any snow that cannot be stored on site shall be trucked off site and disposed of properly.
If need be, depending on how much snow we get.
So for Julie?
Is it typical, I was seeing if we defined any requirements for our as-built plans. Is it typical to have a note that would indicate that the underground utility locations were not guaranteed on an as-built plan?
I mean,
The idea that they're as-built?
So we measure the inverts for stormwater and sewer, and generally they're a straight line piping to structures. But for things like gas, water, electric, we're going off of the contractor's records. I mean, we're not gonna have dig safe markup of freshly constructed site, make it look like a Christmas tree, so.
not speaking for this project in particular, but it's typical to be over budget by the time you do as-built drawings, and so
Well,
you
I'm
change
more than aware of that.
as little as possible.
But we're not here as consultants, we're here as representatives of the city.
I mean, I guess what that probably referring to were utilities that existed prior to all the site work and everything, right?
Refers to all of it.
May I ask some O&M questions while you're looking?
Sure.
So on number 3, additional long-term O&M items.
Yep.
Letter B, vehicle option. I thought in the beginning we discussed it and we had asked not to have vehicle option on site or in a certain area.
This is, I guess the intent of these kind of items is for the owner to notify any tenants of the property. You know, if someone's washing their car routinely, it's a resident there. The manager, the owner is supposed to let them know the stormwater system effects of washing your car, what chemicals you're using.
You don't have a specific area
I don't
if people
believe
want to wash.
that was ever discussed, no.
And so is there a copy of the, the operation maintenance plan in here?
It should be on top there in like, I paper clip them all together, the new stuff.
What I do with it?
And if not, I put it on the screen.
I think that note's fine. It's just a reminder
Yeah,
to
okay.
everybody that they
Okay.
should call dig safe before they dig a hole, basically.
And also for letter F, your requirements for storage and use of fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides. You have shall be within a structure designed to prevent the escape. Where is that you're going to be containing chemicals?
I'm not sure if that's even gonna be needed on site. I don't know if the owner is planning to have like a ground screw in-house or hire it out to a landscaping company. But if it was stored on site, it would be like, you know, maybe a containment tray or something. They just don't leave it out in the yard on the side of the building or something.
Did you like my question?
So can you all remind me, so is this a new document or for some reason I had in my head that we just requested information on the proprietary separator as part of this, and that this document is what we approved, you know, back in, whatever time frame.
Did we already prove it?
Yeah,
So
I think so.
I can tell you what the deal is, but that was included. Is that something more than insulation fee, Ryan, or is this something that we wanted to?
You had, there was two things. The commission had requested that the CDS unit, frequency of maintenance be specified on our stormwater inspection, on O&M plan. We said see manufacturer specs, which is buried in the brochure behind it. So we're saying we revised it to twice per year. And then there were, I believe, catch basins. We previously were calling for it to be cleaned 4 times a year. Mr. Michon wants that to be twice per year, fall and spring.
Yeah, I think the only caveat there is your maintenance procedure says to remove sediment once the deposits reach 1/2 the depth. So if that turns out to be more than twice per year when they're doing the 4 times per year inspections, they should follow the maintenance procedure. Further discussion, comments, questions? Okay. Kathy, what did the letter indicates no deviations?
Yeah, so I can pull that up.
I don't think that, I don't know what I've been looked up. I've lost all of that. It's
Okay,
good tonight.
it's all good.
I'm telling the story of taking an open book test at UMass and I lost the test and all my paper. It took like 15 minutes to find it.
Oh, man.
Hold on. Okay, for track one, the letter. I so this is like a good one sentence that really sums it up.
Make it bigger, Kirsty.
Yeah, sorry.
If you had an eye exam.
Yeah.
Especially if your eyes are older than.
I'm like right at it too. So. Okay, as discussed during the site visit, minor deviations were made during construction from the approved plan set. However, the general intent of the stormwater management system was maintained by providing water quality treatment prior to discharge of runoff to the canal via existing outfall locations. A general list of deviations is as follows. 1. The main entrance location was shifted to the west to avoid impact to the existing retaining wall. The wall could not be modified as it is part of the dam system for the adjacent pond and canal. 2. The interior landscape islands were modified to accommodate the revised entrance location. 3. The stormwater management system was modified to utilize an additional existing outfall. Whereas under the approved plan, the entirety of the site was being conveyed to the northerly outfall under the as-built conditions, runoff from the southerly portion of the site had been directed to an existing outfall on the southerly side of the site. Water quality units were installed to provide water quality treatment prior to discharge to the canal at both locations, similar to the approved plans. RLA conducted limited on-site observation during the construction of the proposed project, including stormwater management system components. The stormwater management system was modified to decentralize the runoff discharge and utilize the 2 existing outfalls. The overall effectiveness of the stormwater management system was maintained by providing a water quality unit prior to each outfall. Other than the above noted modifications, and upon a final field inspection of the stormwater management system, it appears that the components of the system are generally functioning as designed. The proposed stormwater improvements for the project associated with the order of conditions were limited to water quality treatment and no runoff attenuation. Best management practice was proposed. Signed, Philippe Grable, project engineer.
Okay.
I have a question. I hope this is sort of not specific to this project, but when we approve a project like this with all these conditions, and then they hire, it could be any, not just this one, they hire outside landscapers, the outside landscapers. They're aware of all these conditions, and do they know the storage of each of all these things? And does they hire an outside filing company? Does the outside filing company know that they have to put the snow in such and such place? I guess I'm just curious how this gets enforced if you hire subcontractors.
The owner's supposed to make them aware. Mr. Michel's pretty on top of his stuff. I would think he would. But yeah, I mean, we can set rules, but I don't know how we can force people to.
Enforcement goes against the owner of the parcel, the property, so it gives the owner a incentive to make sure that all the people doing work at the site do what they're supposed to do.
And so the operation maintenance plan that we'll have on copy once, if the commission approves certificate of compliance or partial in this case, will be something that if we think that there isn't a violation occurring, we can cite like, hey, this was what was supposed to be happening here according to this document that was approved. And it doesn't seem to be the case. And, go
Right.
there.
Are the wetland resource areas on the as-built plan?
Let me go to that. So, it's the canal, but then. I guess if you compare it to the original plan. Hold on.
So the buffer zone is shown to the canal. It runs almost in line with the western face of building 7. It's kind of hidden by the hatch.
I see it, yep.
Yeah.
And is it on there for the pond as well?
Yes, it is. Yes. The dash line with 2
Yep,
dots.
I see it, okay, great, thank you. All right, I think we're okay then. We've got everything we need there.
Okay.
All right, further questions?
So this one, I do need to print the signature page and I forgot. So I'm gonna print it really quickly. If you can wait, I'll be right back. And I'll fill in the rest of the details and get it tomorrow.
We have a number of in perpetuity conditions we can review.
So we're still talking about 1510298.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is still a. This is the partial.
This is the partial, I believe.
Okay. Because what remains still to be done, Ryan? It's building 7.
Building 7 hasn't been restored yet.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So I'll fill in the rest of the information later, and then I'll get it sent to you.
All right, so partial certification. Hereby certified that only the following portions of work regulated by the above referenced road conditions and that satisfactorily completed. The project areas or work subject to this partial certification that have been completed and are released from this order are. So it will be building 1 and 5, correct? The entirety of the stormwater system. And all of the surface lots are done, correct? All landscaping?
Yes.
What am I missing?
I believe all site work except for the actual structural components of building 7.
Do we need to, for the stormwater permit, the city stormwater permit, make any kind of note about the the bond. I can't remember how we've done it in the past. To release a bond, I've used the certificate of compliance as proof to the bank to allow them to release it. I don't know if it needs to be noted there at all, just as a partial.
We decided that everything for stormwater was completely done, right? Yeah, I think we could just put a note.
Is there a separate recorded stormwater permit for this, or is it part of?
The way that I've been doing it, and I didn't write this order of conditions, I can double check, but I'm pretty sure it's been like an attachment, like attachment C is the stormwater permit. So it starts out, attachment A is the summary, attachment B is the order, special conditions, and then attachment C would be the stormwater permit.
I see. So it's actually one recorded document.
And it's separate from, there's a separate stormwater permit attached to 299.
That's right.
Two piece.
That's right. Yep, with a different bond amount that will be required pre-construction.
Yeah, I think one or two of the very early stormwater permits we did was a completely separate,
Yeah.
you know.
And we have some
Yeah.
of those on, you know, that it's just a stormwater permit and
Yep.
there's no certificate of compliance that goes with it to release it. So I just use like a write a memorandum for
Yep.
those.
Yeah.
Do you think we should add a note to the form?
I think that would be good for people in the future to understand that even though it's a partial, we're allowing them, if you guys are, we're allowing the release of the bond. I feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, the stormwater
Once the
system
site
is
work's
done.
done.
Yeah.
You know, the site's all done.
And there will be another bond for the rest of it. For the
Yeah.
track too.
All right, and do we also, when we do the partial, do we also flag the ongoing conditions here?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it couldn't hurt.
Probably no harm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 64 rather. Ew.
I'm doing this motion.
69, what's up?
Said it was doing this motion.
All right. So,
Yeah.
what we've got here. So we've indicated partial certification to include completion of building 1 and 5, the entirety of the stormwater system, all surface parking areas, all landscaping, all site work, and exclusive of building 7 renovations, with ongoing conditions 64 through 69. And we've added a note that we are hereby releasing the stormwater bond associated with the system installed and approved under this order.
What were the conditions, ongoing condition numbers? Sorry.
64 through 69.
Okay, thank you.
I keep thinking there's another one, but there's not. Anyone like to do the honors?
A motion to issue a partial C of C for track 115100298 for 1 Ferry Street with the conditions as discussed.
Second.
All those in favor? Carr?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Buckett?
Hi.
Augers? Whittemore?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll pass this around for signature.
Grew up seeing meetings where somebody would list off everything like that, and then somebody else would say, so moved. And I tried that idea one time, and I got all kinds of dirty looks.
Thank you. Oh, gosh.
Thank you.
I thought. 1 per hour, right?
That was for alcoholic purposes. Oh, pick your poison, I guess.
I know, I think it
2 an hour or what? What does M stand for?
It's been a long time since I got to make fun of Jay Ryan's signature. I can't wait to see what he
What?
puts out tonight.
No respect. I need a bigger box though. Room for me to sign.
How many commissioners remember me making fun of Jay's signature?
Just you.
None.
I should, but I don't.
I don't know. Probably stopped doing it like that for a while.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I need 2 lines though.
I probably realized he actually got irritated.
No, it's hard to piss me off.
I don't think I've ever seen Jay irritated.
I've tried.
What can happen?
I have no doubts.
That's all up, Jay.
When did you join the commission?
I have no idea.
He's just always been here.
In perpetuity.
Yes.
Jay's an in
Before
perpetuity
we're
member.
time. Holy. What's wrong with that?
I think he just did that for common effect since we played it up so much.
I do appreciate that he uses the card though to get the line just
I
right.
used to be a drafts person.
Well, I'll take it actually. I'm gonna see it.
I used to have to sign a lot of stuff. It was speed signing.
Mine are like squiggly.
That's all right.
That'll look excellent.
I'm gonna change my signature.
All right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Nancy, are we delivering no, you're gonna deliver that later because
Yes.
the rest of it needs filled out.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
You'll receive that by email.
20 days, then you will get it by email and in paper if you like. I'll be in touch.
Excellent. All right, moving on. Our next item is the certificate of compliance request for City of Easthampton 1 Industrial Lots on Ferry Street. Slope grading, vegetation management, and stormwater basin. This is DEP file number 1510317, map 131, 135 lot 1/2 and 250.
Okay, for the record, Ryan Nelson again, Rex Associates. We had submitted as requested an individual as-built plan of just this area. Did a plant count of what was installed. There were a total of 27 plants that were proposed on the NOI plan. I counted 26. If I missed one or if one was missed or died, I'm not sure, but all the correct species were there. Red oak was swapped out for black birch, which was originally proposed. I haven't seen the issue with that. They're both on the higher end of the slope. Stormwater basin at the base of the slope was constructed properly. Philippe Grado also submitted a statement of compliance letter regarding that. Everything was constructed per the plan. Slope is well stabilized, well vegetated.
And I assume Kathy, since it was a joint, well, Dan Murphy wouldn't have been looking at the slope, really. He would have only been looking at
We
the
walked that
stormwater.
area, but, he
Any
didn't have any
comments?
comments to make about it, no, but I think Commissioner August had some questions about some of the plantings potentially, or?
Yeah, you just mentioned the red oak. So, did you also do the other things that were proposed?
Yes, yep, Pagoda dogwoods, those were all in. Flowering dogwoods, those were in. Witch hazel was there, and service fairy was also there.
Okay, thank you.
So I think there was, let's see, from the original plan, there might have been a different list. It seemed like there might have been a difference between, if I can find it, I apologize, hold on. So, one of the pre-construction requirements was, approval of the planting list, which happened. And the plan from 2022, March 2022 listed 8 service berries, 5 alternate leaf dogwoods, 4 paper birch, 6 flowering dogwood, and 4 witch hazel. And I think that's slightly different from what you have listed on the as-built as the plant list. A different number of service berries and a different dogwood. And then I guess the paper purchase were different. I can't remember if there's anything else to pull that
Yeah.
up to.
So, alternate dogwood, pagoda is just a subspecies of alternate dogwood that fills that. Yes, there are two less serviceberry, but we had. What was it? But there was an extra, oak tree or birch, I should say. When only 4 were prescribed, there's actually 5 that were installed. So it kind of offset one of the serviceberries, but total is one plant division.
So there is birch. You
Was
do
that-
have birch?
We do not know.
Don't have.
No, they planted red oak as a substitute.
What was that MRP's comments? Was it just,
So he didn't have anything really specific. Oh, yeah, sorry. He did, what did he have for the slope?
Yeah,
here?
an email,
Let's
right?
see. Yeah, that's right. I'll pull it up here in a second.
But it wasn't about the slope.
It was, there was a
about
piece of it that was about the slope, but it was very slight. Just straight up through them and make sure. Okay, he said, only comments would be to sweep up the grip in the snow pile storage area and to look at vegetation on the on slope at the northeast corner to see if better stabilization such vegetation of slope is possible. So this is an area immediately above the canal. And I revisited the plans that were approved by the commission for the order of conditions. And the proposal there was not to do any plantings. It was to clear the vegetation, but to leave the stumps was what was proposed. So I don't know if there was any requirement for plantings up there. I don't know that they can be asked for now as part of certificate of compliance. I don't know.
Is his concern that the site is not stable in that area?
I don't know if he said that specifically. He just said that if you can put more plants, maybe that would be better. But I don't know that it was, I don't know if you guys remember, you guys were there. Did you feel like he was saying that it was
Yeah.
unstable or that?
You made a comment about plants in that area. And then what was that fabric? You were asking if there was fabric that we could see. We didn't know if it was biodegradable.
There's like some kind of netting. I can show pictures. Oh, let me do that.
his email says, you know, see if there's a better stabilization or vegetation of the slope. So it looked like he was concerned about being stable.
Light years better than what it was.
Yes, yeah.
But I think the whole intent of why they wanted to cut trees above the canal culvert was it was a fear of it would affect the structural integrity of it, the roots. It is fairly old and brick.
And I can go back to any of these. I'm just zooming through to the detail that shows the area of the slope above just the canal part. Let's see.
Remind us, Ryan, what is the herbaceous material on the slope? Is that a seed
I don't
mix?
know
Is
if it
just
was
grass?
seed mixed or just natural propagation of what was in the seed bank, but it's a whole mix of native herbaceous things. Mostly weeds that I could see, but it was covered.
Okay, so let me show you, I'm gonna zoom in on this picture here. So this is right above the canal. The canal's right, essentially right behind me, to the right. And you can kind of see there is some kind of like netting that was placed over there. I don't know if that was there before, if you guys did that, or?
No, that was installed.
Yeah, that wasn't there
Yeah, that
before.
looks like a biodegradable erosion control blanket to me.
Right.
And were there signs of, bullying or potential
I didn't see anything.
someone movement through there? Do you know what the spec is for that material in terms of how long it will last before it degrades? 2-year fabric, 1 year?
I'm not sure.
And is it, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of vegetation that's starting to grow. Is there signs that it's filling in more than what's visible in this picture, or is it pretty sparse? For those who were there.
Yes, you remember these pictures from?
This is from the 9th, May 9th, when we did the visit with the city engineer.
Yeah, I was out there last week. It was pretty similar. Really no change from when I was out there.
Sure.
This was not seeded at all?
I'm not sure. It may have been. I know they didn't do any soil amendments in that area because they were worried about machines working over that culvert. So it could be that existing soil there just isn't good enough quality to support plants. Because there was a lot of historic rubble and fill and stuff along that hillside.
What are we looking at?
I just, printed those. It was back in February 22, for Mr. Michon questioned what we wanted for the seating, and then that was the company that did it.
And I can show the old plan to see if there was, I don't think there was any seating there, but I can double check it.
I don't think it called for it. I think it was just to cut the stumps flush and leave the forest leaf there as is, for my recollection.
Yeah, I agree.
So I can't really tell from that picture, but are there a bunch of stumps at ground level where
Underneath
it's all
netting.
sparse under that
Yes.
netting?
Yes.
That would make it hard for things to grow
Potentially, yeah.
for vegetation.
Let's see, there's
I
another.
think we asked for it specifically
To keep it
stable.
stable, we want to leave the root systems in just to keep
Yeah.
the,
Right.
because it's so steep, just to keep it stable.
Yeah,
And those roots might be intertwined with the culvert too. We didn't want to disturb it.
Sure.
so this is the original plan that the commission approved
Yeah,
for
what
the
is
order
that?
conditions. It says hatched area above bridge to be removed. I can't zoom in anymore, but it says hatched area above bridge to be removed of vegetation by hand and stumps left in place. There's no note about seed there. And then let's see. The rest of the area to the left, existing forested slope to be cleared of vegetation and regraded at a 2-to-1 slope, loamed, erosion control blanking installed, and planted with native shrubs. And then there's a planting list at the base there that we looked at earlier. And then, and beyond that, even further outside of the commission's jurisdiction, hatched area to be cleared of vegetation and loamed and seeded.
I don't know, it all seems okay to me. We got the seed mix we wanted. There's a erosion control blanket on it. Looks like it's biodegradable. There's some stuff growing up. If we didn't ask for seeds, then.
And there are no signs of any erosion anywhere.
Yep.
And I would think as some stumps break down, more stuff will grow in.
So the first in perpetuity condition is that any stabilized slope shall be maintained as designed and constructed by a property owner of record, whether bioengineered or mechanically stabilized slopes. That slope is supposed to be stabilized by the erosion control blanket. But I think as part of the in perpetuity conditions, the expectation would be that if it starts to show any signs of becoming unstable over time, that remedial measures would be needed to
Right.
either add vegetation or add more blanket or whatever it might be.
Right, and that area was added to the stormwater long-term O&M plan when we filed this NOI. So
Okay.
that slope in the yard drain at the bottom is included in it.
Okay. So I think we're covered there. It looks like it's okay now, but I'm a little bit concerned as that blanket breaks down, if stuff hasn't started to grow, that it may be an issue if there's just bare soil there. We certainly don't want that just rolling into the canal.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll keep an eye on it. It's a area of hazard for them, so.
Does that in perpetuity condition allow that work to occur without, without coming back?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the commission's made similar determinations before about operations and maintenance plans, where it's like, if it's listed in the operation maintenance plan, as long as that can happen, then they don't need to come back to do it.
That's property of that's not city property, right? Or is it city property? I'm just trying to remember.
I believe that's private.
That's theirs.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because the permit was issued to the city of Easthampton / one industrial loss
Right.
jointly, so I don't know where.
For this one?
No, that is part of the bike trail project.
Yeah, for this permit, yeah. Not for the track one, but just for this one.
Who is responsible for maintaining it in the operations and maintenance plan?
One industrial loss, the applicant.
Yeah, that's been noted in other aspects of it is he's taken on,
Okay.
I can't remember other ones, but
Yeah, my
Sorry.
my recollection was that one industrial lots wanted it. It was city property, so it was kind of a joint.
That makes sense. Because they wanted to clean it up and make it look
Yes.
more
Right.
aesthetically.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm good. Any other discussion? Okay. So this will be a full complete certification, correct? Correct. With ongoing conditions, which are numbered 61 through 66. And I don't think there's anything further. Oh, Cassie, was there anything noted in the letter about deviations?
Oh,
We didn't look at that.
hold on a second. RLA conducted limited on-site observation during the construction of the proposed project, including stormwater management system components. Upon a final field inspection of the stormwater management system, it appears that the components of the system have been installed in general compliance with the approved plan set and are generally function as designed. The proposed stormwater improvements for the project associated with this OOC were limited to the single yard drain inlet, and no runoff attenuation was proposed. So right at the base of the slope there.
Right. Okay. All right. So we're good there. And we're ready for a motion.
I'll move to issue a certificate of compliance for, oh boy, before I was ready, for City of Easthampton, one industrial last one, Ferry Street, Mass DEP, file number 1510317, slope grading vegetation management, stormwater basin, and with reference to ongoing perpetual conditions numbers 61 through 66.
Second.
All those in favor? Carr?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
August? Whittemore?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sweet. Yeah, so they'll sign it and then I'll get them all together.
So old is new again. think it's.
I'll take it, thank you.
Moving on.
Brendan, you want?
All right, enforcement actions. I believe the only one we, well, maybe there's two names, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the first one would be Loudville Condominiums LLC, 6973 Loudville Road, map 140, 139, lot 28 and 29/11, enforcement order 2023-001.
Okay, so, Brian, it's okay. I don't know, are you here to talk about that too?
Yep.
Can I go over this, everything that's happened since like we first?
Okay, cool.
So, we contracted with SWCA to monitor the sediment removal, just that first phase of removing the sediment only.
Yep.
And that was established, we hired a company named McVac Environmental to help do that work, to vacuum up the sediment as was agreed. So I did a site visit on the 19th of May, just to check in on things as it was underway, and came away with, let's see, 4 items that I think are now outstanding that the commission needs to determine. So this included the following. 1, a report from SWCA summarizing the current status of the sediment removal. Ideally, we would receive this by today, Monday, so that it could be presented at the meeting, and it should include a summary of items included in the rest of this list. We did receive it, but it was pretty soon, right before the meeting, so I haven't reviewed it very closely, but we can look at that here in a bit. So it should include the following. Number 2, confirming finalizing the sediment removal. Currently, about a ½ inch of sediment remains over the area. Because of the needed strength of the vacuum to function, it is impossible to remove this last layer without resulting in the loss of the top layer of wetland soils if you use the vacuum to do it. There is an argument for allowing the last layer to remain so as not to lose the root/seed bank / other benefits of top wetland soil layer. The commission needs to determine whether or not they would like that last layer to remain, or if so, whether any additional action should be taken to reduce negative impacts of that choice. And I put in there something like turning up the soil or something to reduce that layer somehow. And then Commissioner Buser, you'd reached out and said that there should be a way beyond the vacuum that maybe that layer can be removed. I don't know if in the report she mentions anything like that should change, because they were going to try to get as much as they could when I last talked about it. So we should think about that when we look at the report. Okay, number 3, confirm finalizing the management of the natural groundwater seeps into the area. The existing temporary pipes have been reconfigured within the contained area in a way to eliminate the need to direct the water outside of the contained area. However, the recommendation is to keep these pipes in place until stabilization of the sediment removal area is completed to prevent additional erosion of that loose space. So within the silt fencing of all around that sediment that went down there, there's a natural seep, 2 points of natural just seepage. It's just naturally occurring. It's not from the basin or anything. It's clean that comes out of the ground there, but it does flow into that area. What they did was pipe those 2 seeps so that it directed all the water to the back of the contained space. So it wasn't leaving the erosion controls or anything, but just so that they needed to get the piles dry so that the vacuum could vacuum up the stuff. So they directed it away from all of that, and that seems to be working just fine. Before they were talking about maybe needing to direct it outside of that area and use filter bag, but that didn't end up needing to happen. But there's a question of like, is it okay to keep them kind of channelizing that way and pooling that area until everything's stabilized, because they don't want it flowing over the loose soil. I don't know if that's something the commission agrees with. We can talk about that more as you go through and see what her report says. Number 4, determining the contents of the next restoration phase. This includes reviewing a revised plan and likely contacting again with SWCA to review possible in-stream restoration, which I did talk to them about. And we can, I was hoping once we determined what the contents would be, I would be able to like more formally get that information to them so they could give us a proposal to go from there. Okay, so I received the following preliminary response from the SWCA monitor regarding the restoration thus far. So this was before she gave us the report that came in today. And this says, 1, since there's no water source above the eroded slope, a simple stabilization of the eroded slope is recommended using loam, erosion control blanket, small shrubs, and upland seed mix. New England Conservation Wildlife mix could work well. Note that this is different from what the commission had asked for previously, which was the geo grid lifts. geofabric lifts, or I'm sorry, I can't think of the right word for it, but
Encapsulated soil lifts.
excellent, yes. Number two, this technique can be done by hand, while geolifts would need excavation. Number three, plantings. 1 gallon containers or tubulings of ferns could do well down there. I noted the following species: cinnamon fern, sensitive fern, New York fern, marginal wood fern, Christmas fern, and Christmas fern on the upland slope. 4, trees are not recommended as no trees died because of the sedimentation. Plus, the area is so shady that trees will not do well. 5, seed will likely not germinate because of the shady conditions. 6 to 10 small shrubs could also be planted in the wetland, such as spice bush or dogwood, which were found out there. Okay, and then since then, you guys submitted, our Lebec Associates, Ryan was able to submit a new revised restoration plan because the final restoration plan has not been approved by the commission yet. The first change was 1, consistent with Meredith, who's the SWCA monitor's recommendation. In our first proposal, the scoured rivulet area is shown to be filled with loam, seeded with an upland seed mix, erosion control blanketing applied, and plantings installed. We have removed the geogrid lift detail since we believe that that method will be more intrusive and require excavation into a steep and potentially unstable slope. There is no source of water or drainage pattern upslope that will compromise this area via runoff. 2, ferns plantings have been included for ground cover in both upland and wetland restoration areas. 3, the spec sheet for seed mixes for respective areas are attached to this email, which is something the commission asked for before. Number 4, the inspection frequency note on plan has been revised to once every 7 calendar days and within every 0.5 inch rainfall. So that was the last piece that I had. So we have a revised, there's some questions about the sediment removal, and then we have the revised restoration plan that need to be reviewed. And then ideally we could determine what the next phases will be. Content of the next phase.
Point clarification, is
Yes.
it was revised to 0.5 or revised from 0.5 to 0.25?
From 0.5 to 0.2.
Yes.
Okay.
Before it was every half inch rain event.
Right, and it should be 0.25.
Exactly.
Okay.
Matching
The way you said it, it sounded like it was now at 0.5.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw Meredith's comments and I just tried to facilitate things by incorporating them today at the last minute. So it may be rough and not cover everything, but
And have you been to the site?
Not lately.
I have not been since this all happened either. So it's hard to know about the slope stabilization method. Jay, you've been there,
Not since the work has been done.
but nothing's been done to the slope yet. You've seen it since
I've seen the slope after
Yeah.
the situation, yes.
No work.
What are do you have thoughts as to what would be appropriate?
That whatever they were gonna do for the wrapping the fabric into the soil was the best solution, because it's so steep.
Okay.
I haven't been there since this all happened, but I get what she's saying about not wanting to excavate if it's not necessary, but, and there's no official upland source of water, but there did seem to be lots of runoff that was, you know, there'd be like little breaks in the erosion fences here and there, which you could see where there were some gullies, and even if the gullies were clean with no sediment in them, there was still water that was coming down the hill. So I don't know.
And now that that spot exists, it's gonna be a preferential path for water.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I think what I remember when we talked about the list in the first place saying was that, you know, I think we were talking about different ways to stabilize the slope, and we were like, well, we know one way that would definitely work, and that was the FES lifts.
Right.
But which is not to say that other ways wouldn't work too. You know, like since we permitted this project, to me, I've had a concern just about the steepness of the size of the slope in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back to FES lifts, but maybe the slopes aren't as bad, unstable, or, you know, maybe through whatever combination of characteristics, like they're more stable than I think in my mind. So like, I don't know. What am I trying to say is I guess I'm open to something different if we think it's good enough, you know, like I don't want to go overboard on something if we don't have to go overboard on something, particularly because something that gets hand installed would be less disturbance or whatever.
Maybe with all the remediation that they've done, it's locally more stable than it was.
We haven't done anything to the slope yet.
And Cassie, you said you had, newer pictures.
Yes, I do. I can show them. I tried to get a lot of pictures of the slope area because we talked about that last time. So I'll show those. Sorry, let me just put this here. Okay, let me pull those up.
I mean, one nice thing about an FES lift is that it adds extra stability to the slope. But another nice thing is just that it interrupts the flow path for water.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you just have a long erosion control blanket, you get water like going down underneath it.
And then you can't even see the damage that's occurring
Correct.
until the whole thing collapses.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, even when, as an FES lift, those are usually a foot thick, but there might be a way to like tack an erosion control blanket like at the bottom and then start filling behind it, like go up, you know, 5 feet and then just tack the erosion control blanket, like sort of trench it in at that level and kind of do like a hybrid or something like that that provides that breaks up the slope and in a way that keeps water from flowing underneath it and just like kind of holds every, you know, just kind of like without actually being like a true FES lift that adds that extra stability, you know. I don't know.
Is that permanent?
No, it's not. I mean, it depends on the vegetation to eventually take hold as the fabric biodegrades. And there might, I don't know if there's some confusion between what we talked about, because I was picturing completely biodegradable methods originally, but that letter seems to reference like a, you know, a geostabilized, you know, which would involve like some kind of polypropylene or something. But I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I don't know. And I'm open to other ideas. I guess. Yeah, I'm very good at saying I don't know. Taking 10 minutes to say it.
All right, Kathy,
Yeah, let me show them. So
take a closer look at the photo.
but basically, this is kind of from like the bottom of the slope. The seeps kind of come out around in this area. And if you can see, this is basically up above is where there's more of the obvious like erosion. So looking back down there. Okay, so this is up closer to the top of the slope and where I would consider the majority of the erosion to have occurred. Zoom in more. But basically, you will see in other pictures from the top, but there's like a major kind of, I don't know, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but like a hole here and then also down here. And I would say the soil, it would be reasonable to characterize as kind of like fluffy. Like I didn't want to step inside those areas. I think it would have been like up to my thigh or my hips if I'd stepped in there. I don't know. That might be too extreme, but now we're getting closer, kind of moving up there. And I guess, I don't know, Ryan, you might have an idea of like what's the size of this area.
It's maybe like 5-6 feet deep and total square footage was 750 square feet.
Okay, and then I've got some pictures from above it.
What is that tree? Is it a fallen tree that comes all the way down?
You might be able to tell in some of the other pictures where it goes, but yeah, it's just a fallen tree. I don't know if that was there before, but it seems old to me. I mean, and then when I was there on site, I didn't notice like, oh, this tree fell because of this, at least as far as I could tell. That didn't stand out to me. Okay, getting closer. I'm just gonna see. Zooming in and out, crazy. Oh, sorry. It's crazy. There's some videos in here. Okay, this is above that area we're just looking at, so it's kind of, in my opinion, it's like there's two kind of holes, if you will. This is the upper hole, looking from below.
What is our soil texture?
We have loamy sand or sand. It's right at the shoulder of the hill, so it's very dry. And it looked like maybe someone had dumped a bunch of organics years ago there. Like Cassie mentioned, it's kind of fluffy. There's a really deep, like, litter layer. It's a couple feet deep, right at the top. We did test pits not too far from that, maybe another 40 or 50 feet towards the interior of the field, and it was just straight sand at 10 feet.
What are we seeing here?
So this is the top of the slope is like right above here, and I was trying to get a detail of that first, the higher up hole, if you will.
It looks like it's cutting back under. Is that accurate or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's right out there is where the pipe discharge was. So this is
Okay.
at the very start.
Yeah. I'm just taking some notes of what you just said.
Is that leaf litter on top?
Mhm.
Maybe we should have a site visit. Maybe I should look at this, actually.
Is there a plan to fill the hole?
Yeah, this needs more than just dumping soil and putting fabric over top.
This looks like a slope failure.
This looks like a significant slope failure. I think it would be good to get out and lay eyes on it, but I disagree with the recommendation on the table. I think it needs something more serious.
I have a video, that maybe is gonna get easier to tell what's going on here, but yeah, I understand what the site visit, so we can figure that out too.
I mean, the soils out in different parts of town are weird with
Yeah.
water, with water like
Yep.
flowing through them and then popping out and everything. So it might just be like something weird like that, but I don't know. It's hard to tell on photos.
Yeah, just to clarify, there's no active seeping occurring from the scour. This is
Right.
from a man-made discharge.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
but
I
if the
think
man-made
it's-
discharge like flows subsurface and then pops out someplace and carries soil there or something, I don't know.
This is the second like lower hole from above. And then, yeah, way down at the base of the slope is where those two seeps come out. I would say pretty good space away from this. And then again, looking back up from that second hole. Now we're down closer near the base where the seeps are. I think this is looking at one of the seeps. Okay, I'm gonna play this video if that's okay with you guys. We're starting at the top upper hole and then moving on to the other one. I can't zoom in more.
So is that just old degraded leaf litter? Because the colors are different, it doesn't look like soil.
Yeah, that lower hole seems a lot fluffier, I guess is the way I would describe it, but I couldn't say what it is. I don't have the expertise for that.
Was the restoration just for the sediment removal or also slope stabilization?
The only part that's been approved by the commission was for the sediment removal. That was the first phase. The second piece was, or other subsequent phases were to include things like the slope stabilization, and then even potentially in-stream restoration, though that's not yet been determined how we would quantify that.
Did the monitor suggest any recommendations or?
Yeah, so she recommended the erosion control blanketing and not to use the geolifts. I think it seemed like from her description because of the concern of the excavation of the slope.
Okay.
I'm just starting our meeting.
Yeah, I'm just confused when she was talking about seeding and planting. Was that just where the sediment removal was or also part of the slope?
Oh, so I think the seeding and things was primarily for the lower sediment removal area, but there was, I think some of them she was thinking might work on the slope as well. She mentioned some of the ferns within the more upland area, I think the Christmas fern. I can go back to her notes if you want.
Well, her email was good because it had a lot of pictures of before and after.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, we should look at the report, I suppose.
But she recommended also not using seating in the shaded areas as well.
She had concerns about the success in the shaded areas. Let's see, so there should be a paper copy of this report in the file there, but let me just put it up here for everybody to. Report 1, okay.
That was a project inspection report.
Okay, so kind of general site conditions stuff on there at the beginning.
Yeah, because she just addresses the sediment removal.
So she's saying less than half an inch of sediment remains, but maybe we can, I won't muddy the conversation. We're talking about the slope right now.
So that Thursday, 5/18 was the last visit.
That's right. This looks like it's a copy and paste of what I had previously for her recommendations relating to the slope stabilization.
Trees not recommended because they were non-shade effective.
And there weren't any kill, that's right, from the segmentation is from her assessment.
What about the trees that were supposedly in the way of the track? There were hemlocks.
Yeah, you didn't end up using that, did
We
you?
didn't end up needing that equipment access.
Okay.
So no trees were damaged. Remove the sediment, put it there.
And she didn't have any recommendations for further removal of the remaining sediment.
Let's see, I think that may be, okay, let's see. The crews completed sediment removal on 5/18. Currently less than half inch of sediment remains within the area in some locations. The majority of the unpermitted sediment has been removed. Removing this last layer of sand will result in damaging the roots of existing trees and shrubs, as well as losing the top layer of wetland soils and the existing seed bank. SWCA recommends no further sediment removal at this time and to plant and stabilize the area as soon as possible. I'll read this part just in case. Dewatering the area from existing groundwater seeps was required to dry out the sediment during removal. Continued management of the natural groundwater seeps into the area is required until the area is revegetated. The existing temporary pipes have been reconfigured within the impact area, and there's no need to direct the water outside of the contained area. However, the recommendation is to keep these pipes in place until stabilization/restoration of the sediment removal area is completed to prevent additional erosion and/or sedimentation of the newly created unstable soil surface. Plant installation is encouraged as soon as possible. See attached photos in this report. So she may have more up-to-date pictures of the removal. That's from 5/16. My images were from the 17th. So 5/18.
That green tube, is that the vacuum?
No, that's the
No.
redirection of the seeping water. So up here, you can see kind of in a better detail of where they were leading it into the corner of this contained area. And this is what it looks like, all contained. She made a point to say that it wasn't leaving the site, no turbid water was gathering there and escaping in that corner. It's just kind of trying to make it so they had space to allow the piles they were creating to dry. But she'd like this configuration to remain until the site is fully stabilized. Okay, so these pictures maybe will be hopeful.
Yeah, that's after the sediment removal.
Correct.
They recommended what, not taking that last inch of sediment off because of it.
Her description was less than half an inch remains in some areas. When they were out there, oh, that's the slope. So when I was out there, what I saw them doing was they were shoveling the majority of the material into these piles and getting those up. And then they were coming through with a rake and trying to rake it, the finer stuff and get that hot top layer. Cause they didn't want to get down into the roots, but it was starting to, that raking process was starting to expose small roots that were coming up, and you could start to see the darker soil underneath. But it didn't, I don't know, there might be another way to try to get like 100%, but using the vacuum didn't seem advisable.
Right.
To do that. Yeah.
No, I agree. That makes sense. Yeah, I think this too, I'd like to see, understand how much is really left. And a half inch seems like a pretty solid layer still. And it may be that it's different hand tools and that sort of work, but
Toothbrushes.
yes, toothbrushes, obviously. Why didn't they think of that already? Your ideas are spot on tonight, Dan, let me tell you. Yeah, so let's, I think it would be good to try and get a few of us out there to take a look.
How firm are the soils around for walking on? Are they like, or is it just sink up to your gizzard type, or is it just?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Good boots. You want to wear boots, but it's like a couple inches maybe. Some areas like near where they got the puddled water, like you gotta be careful, but the rest of it is pretty good.
Do we want to do an organized site visit or just have people go out and take a look at it and like?
I recommend organizing it now just to set it in, because I know it's hard to find time to get out there generally, so.
Do we have to do so many people?
I know, that's an interesting question. I mean, I think best practice would be to avoid a quorum if we can, even though it's not like a public hearing item. So it's not the end of the world, I think, if we did have a quorum, but it might just be good practice to try to avoid it.
Was there anything else coming up besides the skunk cabbage? Or trying to come up?
Yeah, there's still like some shrubs that still are out there, and I usually better without eating any of them.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago when the vegetation was emerging, even in areas where there was 3, 4, 5 inches of sediment, the plants were still coming up through. So that's what they were trying to preserve while they were raking around things. But yeah, there was jack in the pulpit, there were some ferns that were popping up. Definitely, there's a seed bank in that top layer that they're trying to preserve. There's more vegetation coming up than I thought.
I'd like to go out like first thing Saturday, I think,
That would work for me too.
like 6 a.m. or something.
This Saturday.
Whoa.
I should be home by
Why wait till 6:30? I mean, I think the sun's up at like 5.
You better.
I can do 5.
Yeah. All right. All those in favor of 5 a.m.
I won't be able to go. I'm gonna be out of town this weekend, but I don't think I'll need to be there. So, but if you want to take pictures, send it my way.
What time are you thinking, Dan?
8, I guess.
That work for folks who are
I
interested?
think. I have to be up, you have to be on the road to go to Greenfield at 9. But I shouldn't take that long.
How many of us make a quorum?
4 is my
4.
understanding, yeah.
And who else are there?
Or can we just show up and take that?
I would like to go.
Or
Yeah,
you
the
have to
commission
notify?
has,
Well, these
they
two
have
for
approval
sure.
because there's an active,
You know,
because you can
yeah.
go anytime. Just be safe because it's an active construction site. And it's steep, so you might want to just check in
Yeah, I
with
would
someone.
go.
If it won't keep us
Oh, yeah,
from
no, you
coming in
know,
for
so yeah, I checked in with
You
someone.
sound like.
Yeah, remember I fell down the ravine?
I rolled into
Lots of happens
Good.
sleep in on Saturday.
Yeah.
Wouldn't fight somebody, but happy to go. Are you guys going? Anyone from that end of the table?
I'm not sure I'm going at 8 o'clock on Saturday, though.
Well, yeah,
I got the Arts Festival Saturday morning, so I may be going there.
At 8 o'clock?
No. But they probably open at 9, but
Yeah, I might go by myself.
I'll get out there.
I can send you all a calendar invite for the 8 a.m. one, and then like, at least it's on the books, and if you want to go other times, go other times.
All right. What's our best access point?
So
Stepward is it Stepper Drive? What's the road called now?
Is it
There's
been-
only the one entrance, right?
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't miss it.
And then park on the back end of that circle.
If you go to the right, there's a cul-de-sac.
Okay.
And you can park on that. That looks so, makes sense.
Yeah,
And is the backing truck still there? Is it gone?
I'm not sure if they finished.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's my recommendation is that there is, where the access route was gonna be, like to the right of where the slope failed. There's,
The
you
best
can
way
get
down.
down pretty easy.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, so then we will revisit that. When's our next meeting, Kelsey?
I think it's June 12th.
Go lay it out.
Mm.
So, I think we should probably individually send you our reflections and see if we can arrive at some direction prior to that. So you can pass on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And we don't have anything from SWCA yet in terms of recommendations for in-stream assessment.
No, I wanted to see if we could get an idea of like, I guess I wanted to nail down what explicitly we wanted to ask them to do. So my thought based off previous conversations was that we would ask them to do an analysis upstream of conditions and see how it compares downstream, and then see if they can make any recommendations of anything that could be done.
Yeah, the first thing we need is just an assessment.
Yeah.
To know if there have been impacts that are lasting.
Exactly. And then, yeah, if there have been impacts, what can be done to restore them or like, get rid of them? And if it's not feasible to do any of that direct restoration, but maybe like, because the thing is that the turbid water entered, but then most of it seems like, this is from my preliminary assessment, got washed down. And so there's not a way to recapture it now, that turbid water that washed down. Is there maybe a way that the commission could ask for some kind of mitigation in response to that? I don't know. Maybe similar to how we have been doing basis management at 93 Easthampton Street to allow the crossing to stay longer. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense in this scenario, but
There's some bank erosion down at there, right? Like
Yeah.
that part. I guess I thought I remembered that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
when I first visited the site, the water was coming down the slope. It was all sediment that was accumulated, and the turbid water was entering at 2 points seemingly. One, it was straight ahead of where the sediment accumulated and seemed to just be seeping to the ground. There was no channelization, but it was just like emerging cloudy generally from that area underground. And then it also turned to the right and channelized down that way through some kind of, it seemed like that there was kind of already a little bit of a channel there before, just naturally the flow maybe from the seeps would go that way, parallel to the stream.
Mhm.
And then it joined the stream at a bend. And there was maybe you would say like a foot of like wide area where it was entering. But from what I could tell, it didn't seem like there was a ton of erosion of the bank
Oh.
as a result.
So,
But I don't know.
We asked SWCA for a scope to do an assessment and figure out these things.
Not formally, but I talked to them
Can
about
you
it.
please do that?
Yes, and I just didn't know if there was more, if that seemed like an accurate description of what I should have them include in their scope, if there's more.
I would start
Yeah.
with that, but ask them for their recommendations, because this is something that they should have people between their biological staff and their restoration staff that would know how to shape this. And it's not something we've defined before.
Okay.
And the groundwater seeps. So again, I want to see the site before we make decision with the sediment that's remaining. Theoretically, if they have done a good job of not disturbing what's under the sediment, the original soils should be stable. And what would be unstable would just be the sediment on top. And I don't want to be changing the hydrology for a long period of time from what's natural from those seeps. So I think we want to see it, but I think we should make a decision pretty quickly about what to do with those so that we're not keeping those concentrations and pipes in place if it doesn't make sense to do so. Any other thoughts on that?
Let's see what it looks like.
Mhm.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right, I think that was everything, right? Did I miss any issues?
I don't think so. Let me double check on here. So, okay, so then the last one, just clarification on my point is, we're not ready to say anything about the new submitted restoration plan until you guys see the site visit.
Correct.
Okay, cool. And I think that was the only other piece, so.
Okay. All right. So we'll take a look at it on Saturday morning. We will share our thoughts with Kathy and we'll go from there.
Cool beans.
Great. All right. I've lost my agenda.
All right, good
Thank
night.
you.
Brian.
All right. Do we also have 10 Industrial Parkway to talk about?
Yeah, just a quick update on that one. So, I sent all the notes from the last meeting, Commissioner had some questions. You can review his response. So, he said that the commissioner asked what species were planted. He said he planted 4 hemlocks and 4 black birches. For the requested sweet fern plantings that have not yet been completed yet, he explained that he ordered them from the Wanzik nursery and they're waiting for delivery. So at the time of that message.
Great.
He noted that there are no signs of any erosion in the storage area. He's going to let me know once the ferns are planted, so I can time out my site visit 2 months from then, as the commissioner requested last meeting.
Okay.
And then lastly, he confirmed that the controls will remain in place until the commission confirms they can be removed. He knows to leave them.
Great. I don't think there's any action needed there, correct?
No, I'm
Okay.
just waiting to hear from him, so.
All right, great, thank you. All right, no further enforcement orders, correct?
Right.
Any open space updates? Yes,
Open
Jay.
space update. I talked to Russell at Park Hill. And there's a concern that there's woodcock nesting there right now.
Oh.
So they spoke to,
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
it's a good thing, but
Problematic
it's not good
for
for mowing.
Yeah, right.
So they spoke to someone, Patty at, the Audubon. And she said that they nest until around June 1st, unless the first nest fails, and they might nest again. But,
Okay.
so we're gonna
Keep an eye out.
postpone the mowing a little bit until hopefully the woodcock hatch and take off.
Okay,
And then so I reached out to Lancaster Inc. to figure out like when the next mowing happens. And she said there just needs to be at least 6 weeks of growth from the mow before she does the next treatment, which is scheduled.
Right, that's why we were trying to get it done
Yeah.
like this week.
okay,
Right, but it just seems like it's probably not the right time for
Right.
birds, so
Yep.
we'll push it out a week and see how. They can apparently see the woodcocks, so they can see that they're there, so they'll know when they're gone, so.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, I think I scared one of them once when I was out there. I was like shocked. It was so big. But okay, cool.
That's it.
all right. Compliance updates. Cassie, which projects do we need to discuss?
Let me check here. Okay, we did 1/3 for the school projects. We did 6917 Lodgeville.
Everything.
It's not highlighted, but 410 Main Street. I'm working on trying to set up a site. Excuse me, sorry, I think that should be item R. 410 Main Street, yeah, that's just a stormwater permit. There's no WPA permit.
Where? Oh, right.
Yeah, so,
way down.
they're getting ready to come to close out their stormwater permit, get the bond released essentially. I need to set up a site visit with the city engineer.
Okay.
Working on it.
We can get rid of T now, right?
Yes, yeah, we'll be rid of it.
List is,
We're running out of letters. I know, it would be so lovely if the city could be encouraged to close out some projects.
I know, I'm working on it. I apologize. I know, I'm just gonna make it happen, but I'll put a note in the minutes again.
Pleasant Street Mills expires again this year.
Yeah, that was the one we had to talk Jeff into asking for a longer extension.
Right.
We still haven't gotten it closed. I know they're busy. Would love to see it closed.
New projects
The
are way
ones
more
that-
fun than old ones.
The one that definitely ready to go is the gravel milling that now
Yep.
is covered over by the bundle. And
Yep.
then the other one is the pump house removal.
Yep.
They're done then. They just need to do the formality at this point.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I don't have any other updates besides that.
Okay,
We haven't heard anything on Logan in a while, have we?
no, and I
That's
don't,
funny.
they haven't
She
touched it, right?
just reached out recently though.
Oh, really?
And we're gonna have a meeting, but he has questions that have to do with like other planning department stuff. So I'm gonna have a meeting with him and the building department and Jeff, so that I can know that he's, if he does start building, he's ready and all the controls are up, but nothing's been happening since, so.
Yeah, right, okay. Does he owe us a report this season? I think he might.
Well,
The site
the
was
last time
stable
we were
last time we were
there,
there. It was
we went
pretty
out
stable.
there.
He owed us vegetation reports though for the mitigation
yes, for the
areas.
wetland application, and the last time we went out there was to check that explicitly. So I think it was finished, we closed it out, but we got.
Did we close it out? He's
closed
done
it
it a few
out.
years or whatever?
I think that's correct. I can
Okay.
double check.
Double check.
Yeah.
I just don't remember who knows when that was.
Yep.
It may be that he's done it 2 years.
The pump house demo, that expired a year ago.
Yeah, no, well, they're not planning to do any more work, so it expired. They
It's
just need to
done.
close it
Yeah, it's
out.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we still need to keep it on here then? If it,
I'd like to, so it doesn't get forgotten more. Yeah, we should get
We
it.
should.
Yeah. I keep them all, I have like a project list and I read them out when they're closed, so I have a record of the ones that don't have a COC either way, so I can take it off if you all want, but, okay.
All right, meeting minutes from May 8th. Is ready to be addressed.
Yeah, and I added done corrections and here's a copy if anyone wants it, but, yeah.
Johnson Jacobs got a figure with our party report.
Probably, there was a good number in there, yeah, this time, so probably.
Motion to approve, that's correct.
Okay.
All those in favor, Clark?
Am I allowed to vote if I wasn't here, but I read the minutes?
Yeah.
We really should be moving to accept the minutes and
Yes.
not approve the
Motion to
minutes. And that way we can
accept.
all vote.
Be corrected.
Second.
All those in favor, Clark? Weeks?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
August?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. The bees committee member discussion?
Yeah, so I reached out to Hal said. he's
We
still
volunteered.
interested.
Hal was at the meeting, so we volunteered him.
Yes.
And I'm good with that. It's good.
And I told the clerk, the town clerk, excuse me, city clerk, and she said the commission should vote and say like, we're having Hal be the representative, like, if you're willing to vote.
Do we have a motion?
I move that Hal will be the bee's knees
Second.
and be the representative for the bee committee.
All those in favor, August?
Aye.
Weeks?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Whittemore?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Motion carries, all right.
Easy.
Wetland ordinance discussion. So we had another working group meeting, I don't know, 2 weeks ago? I think?
Yeah, it was on 5/9.
We have been joined by Tom, I always get his name wrong.
Moser?
Yes, which is great. So we made some good progress. We have more to do. Do we have a next meeting scheduled?
We plan to meet on 5:30.
The next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Okay. Yep. But I don't think we've got more work to do before there's anything to really bring back and discuss. We're trying to work through, all of the different resource areas to, have recommended performance standards to bring before the group to discuss. So that's where that stands.
You have a working folder for that?
I do, yeah.
One other topic I wanted to bring up, Cassie, what is our current deadline for people getting you materials in advance of the meeting?
Yeah,
5
so,
minutes.
Because I never get a chance to look at them, and that makes it difficult.
well, so that's the thing. It's always been like a little unclear for me too, because I didn't know what was preferred. Like if they sent it to me like before,
We can't do anything with it, obviously.
okay, yeah, but sometimes like Dan Nietzsche was able to give me the invasive plan right before, and then we were able to review it at the meeting, and it was like, okay, if someone has an hour before, that's great, you got a chance to look at it, but it didn't seem like we should deny looking at it at all. Because the way that it's set up formally on our schedule is that the deadline is essentially the preceding meeting. I think that usually comes out to be 2 weeks before. But that I think is good for like permit applications. Like I need to have the actual form filled out and do the site visit, all that stuff. But there's always been wiggle room because that's just a rule that we set. And sometimes it's okay if I get it the Thursday before and then I send it to y'all. It's okay, but I don't know. So it's up to
We
you
should just
guys.
pick a date and say you have to be 4 days, 4 business days before the
Yeah,
next meeting or something.
Maybe the like 2 weeks is like too far. in
That's too
advance.
far.
I said
2 weeks,
that.
yeah, for things like this, 2 weeks is too far, because if we ask for something at tonight's meeting and we want to look at it at the next meeting, obviously they can't give it to us tonight.
Right.
Right.
So it should be somewhere in the interim, but it needs to be, I mean, for me at least, I can't look at it on Monday, so it needs to be, I need to have it over the weekend at the very least,
Okay.
and you don't work Fridays.
That's right.
So I think our deadline needs to be like noon on Thursday.
Yeah.
Or earlier, we can
Yeah,
discuss, but at latest noon on Thursday, so you have time to send things out and we have time to look at it and know what's before us.
And so I already have in my like routine is that I email you guys Monday the week before and then I email you that Thursday the weekend before essentially. So I guess the question is,
And
if
when do you
someone,
usually send that email?
Which
The
one?
Thursday email?
Usually by the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, getting it by noon would be fine if I send it by the end of the day.
Okay.
The question though is that, like, so in this instance of, they still give it, they still send it to me, is it, then it's just the commission's, you don't want me to send it? Cause I know it ends up with a bunch of stuff, so. Like sometimes people, they just send it to me, so I don't know what to do here. I'll just say, we're not gonna, sorry, it's too late, we're not gonna talk about it at all until the next meeting, sorry. But it seems like with this enforcement order, it was like, well, we really should deal with it, like, we'd rather get it sorted out sooner rather than later, so.
Right.
It's hard to tell what the good rule of thumb for me would be.
Can we just moving forward, if we need something, we'll just stipulate a date and say if it's not received by then, then it's closed.
I guess that's always at the commission's discretion. You mean, like, we got this too late, no one got a chance to review it, we can't do it now. We're continuing this piece of
Kind
it
of
or
depends
whatever.
what it is.
But we need to tell people ahead of time
Yeah.
so that they know when they need to get it in.
Yeah.
Right.
So how do people feel about the Thursday at noon in terms of your ability to review?
I think that's fine.
I think that's good. And I'd even back off to Wednesday just to not put you into a bind.
I appreciate that. I mean, I think in a technical sense, people don't, in the Wet Protection Act, there's no requirement that they submit it by a certain time. So like people could be like, I get, here's my application for an RDA, and then I'll get you the plan at the meeting. You'll see it at the meeting. Like they don't have to provide stuff in advance according to the Wet Protection Act.
But according to our submission guidelines
Yes.
online, they do.
Yeah, that's our guidelines.
That's real.
And so, absolutely. But I don't know if I think the commission just always has the ability to continue and be like, we didn't have enough time to review this. But then the applicant also always has the option to just submit it. And then maybe you want something like in writing that says, like, should I change the schedule to be now everything is due the Thursday before?
I think the system we have now, it works, because if we don't have time to review something, we're just like, we don't have time to review it,
We
we'll
kick it down the
come back in
road.
2 weeks. But it does give us the flexibility. I guess we could say, like, if applicants want the commission to have reviewed something prior to the meeting, give it by noon on Thursday or whatever,
Okay.
So if you don't want to raise.
If you want to roll the dice.
And is that, so should I add that to our schedule, or I could do both? I could add to our schedule and our agenda so people can
Put
see.
it, like the CPA has it on the agenda, that the grant application has to be submitted 2 weeks before
Right
the
on.
next meeting.
Yeah,
So
because we put it right on top of the third page of the agenda.
Yeah, right.
And we're not changing, Kathy, we're not changing anything about the current submission schedule to start a new process.
That makes sense.
We're
to me.
talking about things that are requested during a meeting.
Yeah.
If you want to guarantee that we will be ready to discuss them
right.
and not have to continue, we want them by no later than Thursday at noon.
Okay, so I think I should put that on the agenda and the
Yep.
schedule, and then I will make it just a habit. Whenever I email asking for things, I'll just say that. And just always say, yeah, we need to get it the Thursday before if you want it to be, if you don't want to run the risk of commission just not reviewing it.
Right.
And then, but I guess I had another question of like, I felt bad today because I was like bombarding you all over and over again with more stuff that I was getting. So I wanted to give you all the most time to review it. Do you still want me to do that? If I get something, send it, and then either you review it or you don't, or is that crazy? I'm like,
Send it.
That's, I
I think send it.
I mean,
And if we can get to it, we can get to it. And
I can't get to it.
I know, yeah.
It comes in during the day on Monday. I haven't even seen it
Right.
by the
Yeah.
time I get here. So it doesn't matter to me if it's in my inbox or not. It's not hurting anything to be there, but I can't look at it.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, well then I'll keep doing that then, and then I'll add that language. going forward.
I got time.
Maybe I should hire you to review stuff for me.
Okay.
Deal.
All right, great. Any other general business?
Procedural questions?
Yeah.
Do we still need to do roll call votes? Or why do we do those?
I think the reason is because we're doing hybrid.
Okay.
And so because
The
there's the
online.
virtual element, that was my understanding of why to do it.
I think we just do it so that I am challenged to remember one thing.
Yeah. Should just make up nicknames for us. That is definitely something I would do. Maybe not.
Anything further?
I second that motion.
No motion for nickname.
Is there anything sensible to discuss? Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Weeks.
Aye.
August. Aye. Carr.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Whittemore.
Aye.
It is 8:09. We are concluding this evening meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Our next meeting will be June 12th at 6 p.m.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.